Hey everybody, it's Abby, and welcome back to another weather video. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming heat wave headed to California and the desert Southwest. Let's get started. Before we get started, I was just going to ask that you all can check out my social media platforms. The links will be in the description. I'm not forcing you all to do it, I'm just asking. Active watches and warnings. As a high pressure ridge builds in the west, hot temperatures will occur. Excessive heat watches are issued for portions of the Central Valley and desert Southwest. Temperatures in California may reach as high as 118. Excessive heat warnings are likely. Along with excessive heat warnings, fire weather watches and red flag warnings are also possible, as fire danger will occur. We'll talk about this later in the video. Now, looking at the Climate Prediction Center, we can see that most of the West has a probability of above average temperatures. Portions of Las Vegas, southern Utah, northern Arizona, and Inyo, San Bernardino, and northern Riverside counties can see a probability of 90% above average temperatures. Well, 80%. 80 to 90, we'll say. Southern and Central California can see a probability of 70 to 80% above average temperatures. Central Nevada, Central Arizona, Northern Utah, Southern Wyoming, and Northern New Mexico can see about a 60 to 70% chance of above average temperatures. Portions of the Northern Nevada and Sacramento and San Joaquin Valley will see a 60% chance of above average temperatures. Idaho will see a 50 to 60% chance of above average temperatures, except in Boundary and Bonner counties, not sure how you pronounce that, which will see a 40% chance of above average temperatures. Montana will see a 50 to 60% chance of above average temperatures. As for Oregon, the eastern half of Oregon will see a 60% chance of above average temperatures, whereas eastern Oregon will see a 50% chance of above average temperatures. At last, Washington will see a 50% chance of above average temperatures, except towards the Canada border, where Washington will see a 33 to 40% chance of above average temperatures. Now on to the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. Not much relief for the desert Southwest. Probability of above average temperatures remains 80% above average in the Four Corners. Southern California stays exactly the same with a chance of 70 to 80% of above average. And it's about 10% of a decrease in above average since the last one. Most of the rest of California, Utah, Idaho, Nevada, and Wyoming is 10% lower of a probability of above average temperatures than in the 6 to 10 day outlook. Del Norte, Mendocino, and a few of the northernmost counties in Northern California will remain average, along with most of Oregon. Washington, on the other hand, appears to have a 33% chance of having below average temperatures. At the tip of the Washington-Canada border, temperatures will have a 33 to 40% chance of being below average. Okay, so I'm going to start with the GFS model, and normally this model's kind of cold biased, but we're going to continue. Anyways, so it starts warming up. As we can see, we have a warming trend going on. Like, obviously it's still 70s up in the mountains, 60s, as the lows overnight. But you notice the heat really starts to come in on Thursday, which obviously is the first day of school for many of us in California. For me, it's the first day of online school. We're going to be participating in distance learning, but it starts to get warm, continues. It's like 101, I think is what it said, 98, something like that. It gets pretty warm, and as you move down here, you can see 105 in Arizona, 105 near Palm Springs and Inyo. It's like it gets pretty hot. 101, first day of school, like I said. We're continuing going through. 101 near Reading, 101 along the near Mendocino, not on the coast, like just in the county. 105 in Sacramento, possibly 106, 107, and so on. It gets pretty hot, and there's not much overnight relief. I mean, look at this. Look at the lows, right? 101, and it just continues. And then in Southern California, lows are in the 80s overnight, 70s in most parts, upper 70s to be honest. It's just not much relief. Lows in the 80s, I think I saw. It gets to 100 in Sacramento once again. 102 in Stockton, 104 in Stanislaus, and Calaveras is like in the 90s. Along the coast on the Bay Area, 82. Oh my gosh, that's hot. And it kind of just continues. It gets pretty hot. Wait till you get to here. It starts really warming up about on Saturday and on Friday. 105 in Sacramento, 105 here, 107 in Inyo and the desert, 109 near Palm Springs, Indio, 115. Gosh, that's hot. And there's really not much overnight relief. It just kind of continues. That is just, I can't even imagine living in the desert. I mean, I have friends who live there though, so it gets pretty hot there. And the lows are in the upper 70s. That's what's going to be miserable. Look at that. I mean, that low right there, upper 70s as a low. That's crazy. As we continue through, and this is where I don't know if this is going to happen. It's kind of getting on that stage where it's kind of far out. I'll update you all if it continues to stay hot. But models are showing 115 around the tip of Southern California. 112 in Palm Springs, 111 in Sacramento. Gosh, that's hot. 113 right here up in Sutter and in Butte and in Plumas. It could be all the way up to 110. Gosh, that's hot. 107 near Las Vegas, 115. Now, looking at the Euro high resolution model, which tends to be warm biased, you can see that today, starting off at today, it's going to be around, it's going to be 77 as a low in Sacramento tonight. And pretty warm still in the desert southwest. Is 104 as a low. That's kind of pretty warm. And like 101 near Palm Springs, 93, 80 near Escondido, and 87 near those areas near there. As we continue, we can notice that once again, we're going to start seeing a warming trend. You'll notice that the highs start warming up gradually as we go on to Thursday and Friday. Thursday looks like 98 as a high in Sacramento, 100 up north in the Central Valley, like northern Sacramento Valley, 97 in Stockton, 102. 103 near Yosemite is pretty hot. I mean, well, in the 90s near Yosemite, but 103 in the county next door to Yosemite, 104, 107 in, I want to say that's Bakersfield, Mariposa, somewhere around there. I'm not sure. I'm not very good at counties in Southern California. Pretty warm. 90s in Utah, 80s throughout. Cools down, obviously, overnight lows. Starts warming back up once again. 102 Sacramento, 103 in Yuba, and in Plumas 103, 102 Shasta, Trinity, around there, pretty warm. 113 in Palm Springs and Indio in Southern California. 115 near Baja. Pretty hot. Like I said, once again, this model is warm biased, so you want to maybe subtract 3 to 5 degrees or so. It's not going to get that hot, but it's possible. This is like the maximum that you're going to see, if anything. Anyways, as we continue, you can see it really starts warming back up. 106 on Thursday-ish into Friday. It's pretty warm in Sacramento. Desert Southwest in the hundreds. This is where things really start to take a turn. 111, now it's 108 hours out, but it's not that far out that is possible, but I would say maybe like 108 or so off of this model. But like really warm heat in Southern California in the desert, 118 near Death Valley and like around there. That's pretty hot. 118 near Furnace Creek, 112. 119 near, like, yeah, basically Furnace Creek, which is, like, the hottest place in California besides Death Valley. Like I said, as we continue, you can see overnight lows. Let me just go back a little. Overnight lows are in the 70s, lower 70s for Sacramento, but look at these overnight lows in Arizona and those areas. Those are areas that you better hope your AC works, because if your AC does not work, well, let's just say you're going to feel very hot. It's going to be kind of uncomfortable to sleep. As we go on to the next day, you see it once again 111. That's pretty hot for Sacramento. All the way up to 112 in Plumas Butte and like Sutter. Gosh, that's hot. Oh, I can't even imagine heat. 120 in Death Valley. Yeah, that's pretty hot. And the overnight lows aren't really any better. Like in the 75 range in Sacramento, 80 up north, 86, 94. Now you do start to see a little bit more cooling, whereas before there was a lot more heat yesterday in Arizona and Southern California, like Imperial counties, San Bernardino counties, and Riverside and all those counties. You do start to see a little bit more cooling, but it's still pretty warm. And we're in the 80s overnight lows in Nevada. That's pretty warm. 88 in Las Vegas as an overnight low. Pretty warm still. And then it starts warming back up again. This day's, I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but if this does happen, 115 in Sacramento. Oh, it's going to be hot. 109 in Stockton. 111, 108 in, I want to say that's Riverside. I don't know. I don't know my counties very well. 119 in Death Valley. Gosh, that's hot. Not as hot as the 120 before, but still pretty hot. And it just kind of continues. The hottest I saw was, yeah, this right here. This is pretty crazy. 118 in Sacramento. I doubt this is going to happen. But if it does, well, we're going to melt. I told my dad and my friends, I was like, oh, we're going to take eggs, and I'm going to do a social experiment, and I'm going to probably post it on YouTube, where I'm going to take a pan outside of my front door on the concrete out there. I'm going to put it on the asphalt, and then we're going to crack an egg on it and see how that one fries, and then I'm going to do one in the backyard, but I'm going to do a time lapse to see how it fries and see which one gets hotter. It's going to be kind of fun. We're going to do that on Saturday when it gets pretty warm, because this is Saturday, 180 hours out. Pretty warm still. Like I said, 112 in Arizona, Phoenix area. 108, wow. 111 in Las Vegas area. Pretty hot. And then we start to see a little bit of a cooling trend, but not much. I mean, cooler than before, but then it just warms right back up again. And now we're getting to the point where it's too far out to really tell, but just for fun, I'm going to look at it and show you all. Just for fun. I doubt any of this is going to happen, by the way. We're just going to show it for fun. I'm just going to keep going. And that's as far out as you can see. Now we're going to take a look at the temperature anomalies. Now looking at the GFS temperature anomalies, we're going to look at that right now. So starting at, obviously, forecast hour 0, which is today, right now. We were a little bit above average in most of Northern California, and like most of the West was above average, except for in Washington. But Washington's always kind of, I don't know, they're usually below average. They're kind of lucky. So as we move through, you can see today, once again, our lows are kind of always below average. As we move through, that will change. So starting right here, you may notice this blue blob right here. It's remnants of hurricane, I don't know the name of it, but it started with an E. It's remnants of that hurricane. obviously it's tropical remnants. It's not even going to do anything. It's just remnants. Anyways, it moves in up the coast, and this is where things will get interesting. I'll be curious to see if we could get with our heat. As you see, this ridge moves in, right? You could see this right here. This is going to be your high. I can't draw because I don't have a tool. But there's a high right up here. And then this is your low, where the hurricane once was, but now it's just tropical remnants. And as that's moving in, I'll be curious to see, you can see it kind of cools things down just a little, not much, but a little. And I'll be curious to see if that right there will bring in some subtropical moisture, which might increase the humidities, which we'll look at in a minute or two. But if it does, then that's going to cause warmer feels like temperatures, which might cause it to feel very, very warm, which also could be one reason that models are trending pretty warm these last days. It went from being like 103 as a forecast on Saturday from one of the models to now it's like 108 in Sacramento for the forecast for Saturday. I'm like, what? 5-degree difference in a matter of a few hours. But that could be why, because the humidity could be bringing in heat. Hotter feels like temperatures. And this heat doesn't seem to go anytime soon. Look at that. Look at that building right there. That is just, oh wow. Look at Washington. Washington's got a pretty nice high. So this high is stalling. Obviously there's a low off the coast. And this high is just stalling up here. And it's causing heat to come in. I mean, California it seems like we're getting non-stop heat. This right here probably would be maybe your thunderstorms up in the mountains, but it's just kind of non-stop heat. You get a little bit of coolness. This is too far off to tell. You get a little bit of cooling here, but I don't think anything's going to happen then. I think we're still going to be warm. And it's kind of just the same thing. The blue is kind of more of your maybe winds. I'm not sure. But once again, it just stays warm. So looking at the experimental heat risk, it looks to be pretty hot over the next few days. Starting on Wednesday, not that hot, but still pretty hot, but not that hot. Over Southern California in the desert, you can see we're at a stage 2 level, which means moderate heat risk for those who are sensitive to heat, especially without cooling or adequate hydration. We're in the yellow, which is, low risk, but those who are extremely sensitive might get it, like heat stroke, or this is basically, like for those who are sensitive. Moving on to Thursday, we start to see a lot of orange heat risk, which means moderate heat risk over the valley, over the Central Valley. A little bit of red in, where is that? San Luis Reservoir. I don't know where that is. I think it's I want to say that's San Luis Obispo County. Not 100% certain. It's in the San Joaquin Valley. And then obviously in Arizona, we've always got this extreme heat risk going on. Same with Texas and New Mexico in southern areas. Obviously yellow for the mountains and a little bit of green over here, which means no heat risk. Friday, moving on to Friday, we can start to see some moderate around I think that's especially around the river delta in Sacramento and San Joaquin. And orange for Elk Grove, orange, which is basically stage 2 moderate risk for those. But we start to see some high risk around the inland coastal areas, or maybe not inland, I'm not sure what you call it, like kind of around the delta areas. A little bit of extreme heat risk, but very high, not extreme. But for those who are in that same area like I showed before, moving back up, Saturday, it starts to get very warm. You got a lot of extreme heat risk going on in Southern California and Arizona. Pretty hot. I'm going to zoom out a little. As you can see, pretty hot. You got red heat risk, which is very high heat risk, and for Sacramento Valley. Up north, we got orange, which is moderate heat risk, and most of Central and Southern California is in between moderate and very high heat risk. It could get pretty hot. And it just gets worse. This heat just continues ongoing. It gets pretty warm. I mean, especially for like, I don't know, like Riverside and Los Angeles can be pretty hot. Basically, all the inland counties, San Bernardino, the Central Valley, like actually in Central California, looks to get pretty hot. We got, if I scroll down, we got magenta risk, which is very high heat risk for the entire population for long duration heat. So I do not recommend going outside. Just don't go outside during that day. Try to stay inside. Practice heat safety. I'll show you all the image on heat safety in a little bit. Practice heat safety. Stay inside. Drink water if you're going to be outside. Put on sunscreen to stay heat safe. Just try to limit your outdoor activity to being like in the overnight hours. And we start to see some relief, but not for Southern California. As that high pressure ridge starts to move lower, you'll notice that it gets pretty hot in Southern California and Arizona. Lots of very high risk for heat on the Monday. I do not recommend going up there. And up north, we get a little bit of more of a risk up in Yuba City and up around, I should know my areas, but I really don't. Up north, we got more of a risk. Even up in, I would say even Rio Linda's got a little bit of a risk. Wheatland, Beale Air Force, Yuba City, all those areas, Sutter Creek. I mean, they got a little heat risk going on. So what exactly does this mean humidity-wise? Well, obviously, we're in California, so there's going to be dry heat. But I was going to show you the humidity because I was curious if there would be any subtropical moisture coming in from this low, which would basically just bring high clouds in. But as we look at humidity, it also is a great thing to look at as far as wildfire concerns go, because as we all know, PG&E tends to shut off power in other areas of California, like Southern Californias are different. I mean, Central California and Northern California, they tend to shut off power there. As far as stuff goes, as far as wildfire stuff goes. So looking at humidity, which is a key factor in wildfire concerns, we can see it's pretty dry, humid in the mornings. This could be, this is obviously your fog on the coast. This might be low clouds coming in, maybe just morning humidity. But as we go through, you could see, and things start to get really dry. Look at this. 13% relative humidity in Sacramento. I mean, that's that could bring in some wildfire concerns, depending on if you get a wind, which usually we get the delta breeze, but I don't know if we're going to get that. It says 10% relative humidity, all the way down to 9% relative humidity in southern Stockton. Gosh. I mean, obviously it's going to be dry out in the desert areas, but, it's going to get pretty dry. And it tends to stay. This is where your red flag warnings come into effect. I mean, most of California is just covered in what looks like low humidity. I mean, 13% in Inyo and in Riverside and those areas. All the way as low as 15%. Even in the Bay Area. I mean, it shows 65 there, which is kind of low for the Bay Area. I mean, normally they're pretty humid because they're along the coast. But as it continues, it's it's pretty dry. This is not much overnight recovery as far as recovery goes. I mean, 35%, that's not much recovery for Sacramento. 21% up north, still not much recovery. And then it gets worse. 9% relative humidity in Sacramento and just most of the north. This is where I think you could see maybe some possible elevated fire concerns to maybe even critical fire concerns, and on the worst of it, maybe extreme, but I'm saying the worst end of it. I'm thinking maybe just elevated to critical fire concerns because of that. And it just continues. It's not much overnight recovery, 33%, 35%, 34%. In Southern California, it's kind of the same thing, 16, 22, 21%. Just not much overnight recovery as far as fire concerns go. I mean, 12%, it's still not much recovery. And it just kind of continues. It doesn't really dissipate. It's and then as obviously it starts to, that's when it's over. But still, that's a lot of like low overnight recovery as far as relative humidity goes. So just for fun, I'm going to do a forecast for Sacramento and for Stockton. Now this forecast is going to be a little bit cold biased. Well, not really cold biased, but like a little bit colder than what they are normally calling for, because I'm just trying to do one. It's not the main part of the video. It's just kind of like for fun. Okay? So on Wednesday in Sacramento, it's going to be 97 as a high and 59 as a low. Thursday, 102, so it's starting to warm up, 65 as a low. Friday, 105 as a high, 73 as a low, which that's a very warm low for Sacramento. Saturday, 109 as a high, ooh, it's hot, and 71 as a low. Sunday, 106 as a high, 70 as a low. Monday, 106 as a high, 73 as a low. Tuesday, 107 as a high, 71 as a low. And Friday through Tuesday, it is going to be partly cloudy, because that's what's going to cause it to be so hot, because it's going to increase clouds causes increased humidity at night, and that increased humidity is going to cause warm overnight lows, hot overnight lows, like possibly record-breaking lows, and very hot temperatures during the day. Now for Stockton. Stockton's going to be 98 as a high on Wednesday, 63 as a low on Wednesday. Thursday, 102 as a high, 65 as a low. Friday, 106 as a high, 74 as a low. Saturday, 110 as a high, 73 as a low. Sunday, 105 as a high, 73 as a low. Monday, 105 as a high, 73 as a low. Tuesday, 107 as a high, 72 as a low. Lastly, before I end the video, I'd just like to remind you all, because this is a heat wave, I'd like to remind you all to stay safe, stay heat safe, and beat the heat. Stay hydrated, stay inside during peak hours, protect your eyes when you're outside, check on others, apply sunscreen when outside or outdoors, seek shade, and look before you lock. I'll see you all next video. Bye!